The Square Ball Podcast.
Welcome to the show. You'll find this one in your podcast app. You'll find it on YouTube as well. It's Dan, it's Michael, it's Chris Mack on a pre-season update that is brought to you by Levi's Solicitors. Great news with Levi's, which I think we can lift the embargo now.
Indeed, Ornstein or Romano probably going to be announcing this, but we're ahead of them. So yes, they're in for another year, aren't they? Because of all the good work we do for them. They're very welcome.
You're definitely claiming that one for yourself, aren't you? A 10% discount on their entire range of services. Off your legal fees, that is. Wills, probate, conveyancing, lasting powers of attorney, commercial dispute resolution.
Just some of the services. I'm sure there are more.
You will find that at levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. Professional as ever, starting off another year as we mean to go on. Good
it's pre-season, isn't it? I'm just getting into it.
Yeah, well, speaking of pre-season, we've actually got football to talk about. We'll get on to Anton Stach, who's signed from Hoffenheim in just a bit. And there's a game today as well at the time of recording. Another secret game. But we did see a very public game at the weekend at the Strawberry Arena in Stockholm. Did you watch it and did you enjoy it?
I watched it. It was fine. It was fine. We didn't look out of our depth whatsoever, did we?
Man United did, though. Hey,
they actually did. For the first half an hour, I was genuinely thinking, like, God, they're horrendous. They looked like, I don't know, pick a random Champo team, Preston or someone.
The only time that there looked like any disparity between the two teams was whenever Jayden Bogle came off towards the end and you had Sam Chambers at right back. And even then, like, they had a couple of chances. But I think if Leeds had won that game, I don't think anybody could have come out of it and said they didn't deserve it.
Yeah, it's very, 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 very early days. But yeah, I was quietly encouraged by the whole thing. I thought, we look all right. Maybe the gap to, and I did have a passing thought, and I thought, am I just being a dick about this? But yeah, the top end of the Championship to the bottom end of the Premier League is not as vast as you might think if you are organised and look half decent, which I thought we did. You know, we lacked a bit of cut and thrust, but it's only pre-season. And we're playing a very midfield, weren't we, rather than an attacking one?
Yeah, we did look to be lacking a bit in sort of attacking midfield and up front, didn't we? Was where it was mainly not sticking for us. But generally speaking, like the general pattern of the game was that we were doing some quite nice passing, and as soon as they got it, it just completely broke down. Like for the first half an hour, they really did struggle to connect more than 2 or 3 passes. We pressed them pretty well, and when we got it, I thought we played out some quite nice tight situations. I thought Nonto and Tanaka were doing some quite nice stuff down the right hand side. Like it all looked pretty good.
Yeah, I think we maybe lacked a little bit of ambition going forward at times, and it probably didn't help. We had the dead weight at left wing, but yeah, down the right hand side, like they just picked up from where they left off last season. I thought Nonto was really sharp.
Yeah, him and Bogle combined really well. Well, you can see the difference, can't you, between Jack Harrison, who's not been there for any of the last 2 seasons, with Sam Byram, was the standing left back, versus these two, where Bogle just looked like he was having the time of his life.
Yeah, and then on the other side, you had Byram just kicking lumps out of players, which was great fun.
I was encouraged by Bogle, actually, because obviously the last time we were in the Premier League, we attempted to do it with Rasmus Christensen as our right back, and even in that opening bit of the game there, you were like, Jayden Bogle's clearly a better footballer than Rasmus Christensen, because some of the tight spaces he was working in and the way he can control it and go past people. But Christensen didn't have any of that. He was a very meat and potatoes, twat it down the line sort of a wing back, wasn't he? Whereas, you know, Bogle looked pretty lively. I know defensively, Sheffield United fans have given us these grave warnings that he's going to get horribly exposed, but maybe in a better team, it's fine if your right back gets exposed. I mean, you know, Liverpool have had a right back who can't defend, and he's just gone to Real Madrid. So what I'm saying is Bogle to Real Madrid.
Defensive in. Yeah. Defending's overrated is what I think I was trying to say.
And as we're compiling a solid midfield, it's maybe okay that the wing backs are going to be bombing on, unless it's Sam Byram, in which case it'll probably be a bit more conservative, but still.
Yeah, you'd think that the signs of having Tanaka starting as a number 10, really a third centre midfielder, that might not just be because Brent Aronson's late coming back from international duty. It could be a sign of something to come.
Yeah, and he thought he works quite well as a kind of a pivot further up the pitch as well, doesn't he? Because he seems happy playing forwards or backwards, does Tanaka, in a way that, I know Aronson is very much a forward player, isn't he? Like he just gets it and turns and runs at people. or knocks it forward. He's very Red Bully, isn't he? Is what I'm saying. Whereas Anton Stach is obviously much more considered world-class talent, as you identified.
Cultured is what he is. He's cultured like yogurt.
Is that right?
Yep.
Is that right? We saw Meslier.
Yeah.
Looked all right, didn't he?
Made a save.
Yeah.
Was a bit all over the place on the corner that led to the save.
I mean, look, he still needs to move on for his own sake, I think. As we gather, he is kind of privately admitted. So just, yeah, if that's the last memory of him, having been involved in the championship trophy lifting, and he's done all right in pre-season, good. We don't have to concentrate too much on the errors in the season, do we? Because we got over the line. It didn't matter in the end. Let's part on nice terms.
Yeah. The last time we played this fixture in 2023, we had Max Fober playing, and he left, like a week or two after that, if even. So I would expect to see the same from him and maybe a couple more.
Well, there's going to be movement, isn't there? I think that's the safest bet you can make. The most recent of which, Anton Stach, another giant for the midfield, who joins Longstaff. I don't think we recorded since we confirmed Longstaff, but it's been in the pipeline for so long that I think we treated it as kind of done. But yeah, I mean, statistically, I won't pretend to have watched much beyond, the usual YouTube highlights compilation, but statistically, if you look at those sort of spider web graphs of what he's good at, he seems to be quite good at everything, albeit the caveat is this is in Germany and it's a different type of league to the Premier League, but he's got something about him.
A lot of height. That's what he's got about him as well. I'm not going to pretend I've watched him in actual full 90-minute games, but I have watched a few highlights things. Who does he remind you of physically as a player?
Declan Rice.
See, weirdly, at points, it reminds me a bit of a cross between Lucas and Rio Ferdinand, albeit playing in midfield.
He does play centre-back as well, though, doesn't he?
The tackling around a corner thing he does with his right foot is a very Lucas move. And then basically just charging through people to win the ball is something Rio Ferdinand used to do quite a bit, like just timing his run so he will kind of get there at the same point as the ball arrives and just takes it with him. And I was just thought, looks, I don't know, there are quite promising signs in there. He just, physically as well, he looks like the polar opposite of Mark Rocker in terms of how he generally gets involved in stuff. Because Rocker was someone who you didn't really ever picture competing for a ball. He was just wanting it in space and then to knock it sideways. Whereas this guy seems a bit more, he seems all action, is what I will say. The Rice comparison is probably fairly good, actually.
Well, he's the one, actually, Chris, where the spiderweb graph overlays quite neatly with Declan Rice's strong points. So, yeah.
Yeah, he looks like a decent, smooth operator, but I wouldn't be expecting him to play 40-yard switch passes and cut teams apart. I think he's been signed with the job in mind, which is being solid and being able to keep a team up, which is probably much better than whenever we were signing the likes of Mark Rocca, which was just because, he was at Bayern Munich.
I had a message, actually, just speaking about play styles, just talking about Longstaff from John, who's a Newcastle supporting friend of mine. He says, what type of football did you play? Fast-paced counter-attack or steady from the back? Longstaff is a steady player, but only negative I used to hate is that he slows down play all the time. Good at times, but frustrating at others. And I replied to him, I said, well, we kind of played a bit of a hybrid. Like there was a lot of possession football at times, which was quite considered and slow, but then we would burst into life at other times, wouldn't we? And we would be a quick counter-attack inside. And I suppose if from what we saw on Saturday, it looks like, and they've spoken about in interviews actually as well, like we're going to try and control possession where we can, or maybe have spells of controlling possession rather than giving it up completely. Because it's hard to play against, isn't it, if you are constantly without the ball? Sorry, I'm going a bit hecky now. But if you're without it, you're constantly having to run around and try and recover it, or you're defending 24/7. Whereas I think the way that Farke sets up, he likes to have the ball for a bit, slow the tempo down, let everyone recover, and then you're ready to go again, aren't you, in another attack?
I don't think there's necessarily all that much we can take from last year's playing style, because we from the starting point of having a far better team than everybody else in that division. So you just have the ball more, and when you've got the ball, you can do more things, because you can, frankly, do them fairly unopposed in a lot of occasions last year, because we were just playing around teams because they didn't know what to do and they weren't quick enough and they weren't skillful enough. That's not going to be the case here. So building something that looks different is probably the sensible way to go, because you saw like Southampton, for example, came up and tried to do the same playing style exactly. And it was just, they went from being a team that controlled possession and had a slow build up and lots of the balls to just being a team that just you just got dicked every week.
Because they were wide open, so we're trying to do that.
Which is not a huge amount of fun to watch, is it?
Yeah, but they were, in a sense, lucky to be promoted that season. You know, they had Leeds' number. I think if they had come across any other team in the playoff final, they probably wouldn't have won that game. They didn't really look that good. But that possession style just seemed to do Leeds in.
Yeah, I think Russell Martin had Farke's number in that regard for whatever reason, didn't he? But no, I think we described it on the show last week as it's almost like a reboot. Is this? It's another version of Leeds United, albeit same coach in charge. And actually, that was one of the, because I've primed myself for this Big Bastards FC mode of operating, and us perhaps being without the ball. It caught me a little bit by surprise on Saturday, the amount that we had the ball and how comfortable we looked with it. It was a sign of encouragement. But yeah, it does feel like a little bit of a style reboot to an extent, whereby, well, you can see from the recruitment the type of player that we're going for, and maybe they're looking to now add some more explosive attacking flair in this sort of latter part of the window. Now they've got all the midfielders sorted. But yeah, it's I said last week, I think it's interesting to me, almost in the abstract, of how we get on now, and can we buck the trend of teams that go up, and can we stay up? And it's interesting to compare us with Sunderland as well, and seeing how they're going about stuff.
I'm kind of wishing it was Sheffield United had come up now, because I don't think they'd have been going about this anything like as aggressively as Sunderland are.
We would have been about £9 million better off as well if it had been Sheffield United rather than Sunderland from the refund from the parachute payments. So
yeah, Sunderland are just on the verge of signing Granit Xhaka, aren't they?
Yeah, but it was quite funny. Was the playoff final, that should be said.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but yeah, there is that, I suppose. But yeah, I was sort of hoping Sunderland would lay down and die a bit more than they are doing. They seem to be pretty active in the window, although in terms of putting up against the spending limits, they're surely going to get there fairly soon. And
they've got a lot of headroom though because of the sales and the fact that they didn't even actually get to the limits in the Championship either.
Is that right?
Yeah, I don't think they hit the 13 million limit. I think they carried about 8 million of losses with them for 2 seasons. So they've got headroom there. They've got headroom from selling Bellingham and some other chump.
Oh yeah, the guy who scored in the playoff final. He left, didn't he? Yeah, so we'll see how it goes down there. But it looks like they are in the same sort of pool as us, given the fact we keep being linked with the same players and they keep buying them.
Yeah, I mean, if it levels the playing field in the whole division a little bit and it stops it being such a chasm, it's not necessarily a bad thing if they're able to take some points off teams that are going to be in that sort of lower third, is it? There's an argument both ways.
The shape of the league was weird last year because it just was, the bottom 3 was catastrophic from more or less start to finish.
In many ways, it mirrored the top end of the Championship, though, didn't it? Which is what the fear was about the 2 divisions just becoming a closed shop, effectively, and the same 3 will recycle each time.
Yeah. If we're making excuses for the 3 that went up last year, Southampton were never going to be equipped for it. Ipswich was probably just a bridge too far with back-to-back promotions, and then Leicester were a basket case anyway.
Yeah.
So you would say that the 3 teams coming up this year come up in healthier positions.
And certainly we're coming up with a plan. I can't speak too much to what Sunderland are doing, or indeed Burnley for that matter. But
I mean, Burnley have signed like Jayden Anthony and Kyle Walker, who seems to be quite over the hill. Like, I feel fairly encouraged by their business, whereas Sunderland worries me a bit.
Well, naturally, because they're spending a lot of money, and like you said, they're targeting players that we were after. But I really like what we're doing. Like, whether it proves to be enough or not, I've no idea. But I at least like the look of it on paper, and think, are we giving ourselves a chance? Hopefully, and if we can get the other ones over the line, like Pike Shaw, for example, is still bubbling under quietly, hasn't gone to Marseille yet. It feels, reading between the lines, like Marseille can't quite meet the same financial terms that we can with Feyenoord, and I don't know if it feels like the longer that one runs, the more chance we've got. But we'll see, I guess.
I mean, can he get in the team ahead of Jack Harrison?
That is the question, isn't it? Let's talk about Harrison then, and the reception that greeted him in the Strawberry Arena. Predictable. Daniel Farke said he'd had a word with him and said this will happen. You know, you've got to put in the work to sort of turn the crowd around. Will it ever happen? I don't know. I mean, there's not only the fact that he left, but there was the video that his mum got caught in the Everton away end. I think didn't do him any favours whatsoever.
Yeah, there's no point getting annoyed about that. At the same time, I think the fact is he just doesn't look very good anymore, and he hasn't for 2 years. And he may or may not be one of those players that flourished purely under Bielsa. I know he did look all right at times under Jesse Marsh, but just.
Well, I was going to say, Chris, we were talking about the spiderweb graphs earlier on. If you look at Jack Harrison's, I saw one floating around. I don't know if it was on Twitter or on Wacko, somebody had screen grabbed it. In essence, he's a perfectly competent, probably lower Premier League footballer, but he doesn't actually do anything. Like if you look, he's not good in any of those areas. He'll get it and he'll release it, but he's not particularly good at crossing. He can't beat people. He's just kind of there.
Yeah.
So maybe the stuff that he does do, I'm trying to be fair to him here, but you don't notice it as much as, it's not as eye-catching as somebody who can beat a man. But these are the things that you need, particularly if we're going to play in a more counter-attacking style. It's no good giving it to Harrison out wide on the left, who then just stands and passes it inside or passes it backwards if we're going to try and counter-attack.
I mean, fairly, to use an unkind term probably, fairly like bog standard Premier League managers have liked him as well, in terms of like Deitch and Moyes have both trusted him. And they both know what they're doing in terms of keeping a team in this division. So he is probably serviceable at this end. It's just whether or not we can get a fee for him, because I feel like he's one of those ones that maybe the club are playing this sensibly and saying that, if we can't get any money for him, because I think Everton said basically we'd have him for nothing. But what's the benefit of that? We might as well keep him. So maybe that's the stance on him, that he's like this year's Max Verber, in that we'll resentfully keep him around and he can come off the bench now and then. He can play in some cup games, and if there's no way of getting rid of him,
I think that's it. That's the nub that you've hit on there. It's that we probably don't want to keep him because he doesn't really fit anywhere with this. But he's got 3 years left on his contract. He's on a big wage, so unless you can get someone to pick that up, what are you going to do? You're going to have to. It's too expensive to just bomb out, isn't he?
And and he is fine. Like he does work hard. We do know that, and I don't see him as necessarily being someone who will sulk either, in the same way as. Like Verber turned up start of last season in that Middlesbrough game looking like a man who absolutely couldn't be asked in terms of his fitness, the way he just was getting rid of the ball as soon as he had it at his feet. It was just like, it was a proper get me out of here type of performance, was that. And then maybe he had some better ones as the season went on, but I don't know. I see Harrison as being hard-working enough to probably just get on with it, if that's his lot for the season.
Keep your head down kind of thing.
But equally, if we can get any money for him, or get his wages off the books or whatever, it probably will happen, I think.
Yeah, he's also the fourth best winger in the team at the minute. And when he left Leeds in 2023, I don't think he would have been the starting winger at that point either. No. I think somebody told me that they were told that he was basically told he wouldn't be the starting winger in the team anyway. At that point, because you also had Dan James, Nanto, Sinisterra. Yeah, he would have been fourth choice.
Yeah, and actually, I suppose this segues us into talking about Pat Bamford, who's had that conversation recently with Farker. You're not going to be featuring. You're not in my plans for the Premier League, so go off and find yourself a club. By the sounds of it, and he's training back at Thorpe Arch. I don't know about you, but I actually feel quite sad about it. It's funny, isn't it, that he's been the source of so much frustration over the years, but you can't help but think it feels a little bit sad, even though it's also probably necessary, and it's time, as we said, it's probably time for him to move on.
I think I feel probably relief as much as sadness, just because we don't need another season of going into this with him being there almost has been a distraction. I feel like we've not replaced him adequately at any point because he's always been there, but then he's not because he's always injured. I mean, it probably speaks volumes that what was your first reaction when you heard he'd not been included in the squad for the Man United game? Because mine was, he'll just be injured. And then when they said it wasn't that, I was a bit like, oh shit.
Well, it's interesting because, Dean obviously has been doing his play, which is now finished at the Playhouse, and Pat Bamford was there through the week to see one of the performances, and Dean spoke to him afterwards and got photos with him, and Bamford was sort of saying to him, I feel like I'm in really good shape, like for the first time in ages. And he was like, you staying? He was like, yes. So obviously he was told at the start of pre-season, like if you go back and check Farker's quotes from the weekend, he told him right at the start of pre-season, when we get to, you've put in the work now, but when we get to go into the tour, you're not coming because I've got my strikers. So, he knew at that point and seemed to be in fairly chipper spirits about it. I felt a bit sad, but I also felt relief like you, yeah. I think sadness is on a human level because it can't be easy to have that conversation. And he's, regardless of what you think about his injuries, he's been a good servant to Leeds in that he had that one good season, basically, and frustrated us a lot of the other times. But, No, I don't know. It's just a natural feeling. I suppose it's a similar feeling to Junior Firpo.
Yeah, he's not gone out with a bang in the same way as Firpo, has he? That's the thing. Because Firpo was genuinely very good for us last season, whereas Bamford didn't contribute much, did he? I know there were a few cameos towards the end of the season where he came on and looked kind of useful again, which he hadn't for a while. But across the two championship seasons, he's not got many goals, has he? I mean, I looked at, I think he got 14 league goals in the last 4 seasons with us. It's just not enough, is it?
He was brilliant in that period after Christmas 2023. He scored 8 or 9 goals, was it, between then and March?
Yeah.
And then didn't he get injured towards the tail end of that season? There'll always be a place in my heart for Patrick Bamford.
Yeah.
For between 2018 and 2021. And then injuries just happen. Like, it's unfortunate. But
undeniably Bielsa's man, and we love Bielsa. So he was very much, again, a part of that. And I think that was maybe the origin of us saying on the show, probably with the passage of time, Bamford will be looked back on more fondly than perhaps he imagines.
Mm. Well, the strikers aren't they? They're remembered for the good bits. I mean, look how we look back on Yeboah. Like, there's a whole period of him sulking and taking forever to leave the club that no one remembers anymore. And like Hasselbank now we look back on as a good player for us, whereas actually when he left, people were like, "Oh, greedy bastard, fuck off."
Yeah,
was the gist of it. So Michael Bridges, again, someone who was injured chronically for years and years, but actually now you look back at the good bits more than the 3 seasons where he just had a knee injury for the whole time. So, and I think Bamford he's the one true link to Bielsa still in this team, because I know you get sort of Meslier and Strauch who played under him, but they weren't exactly pivotal players in that team, were they? And then Jack Harrison was, but then he's been away. Whereas Bamford has, whether or not through choice or because we just couldn't shift his wages, he has been here through the whole period in a way that, no one else has.
And even things like going to see through it all together. Not that many Leeds players have gone and done that, but he has. So it's just little things like that. I think he's obviously had a complicated relationship with the Leeds fans over the years, but yeah, like he's a 2-time promotion winner with Leeds. All right, he played less of a role the second time, but there are lots of good memories.
I do wonder where he's going to end up.
Yeah, it's hard to say, isn't it, at the moment? Because he's going to be on a very, very big salary for anyone in the Championship taking a punt on him. So he's a bit limited. I don't see him as a Saudi man, I've got to say. So MLS, if someone will have him.
When does the MLS season start, though? We've seen, by the way, we've seen Mateus Klick's been let go by Atlanta.
Oh, has he?
Yeah. That one happened this morning. But their seasons are not quite aligned with ours, are they? I don't think.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you.
I don't think they are, because this is me going back to the days of David Beckham. Because remember Beckham went on loan to Milan and PSG?
Yeah.
Those 2 years.
Frank Lampard was loaned back to Man City, wasn't he? For that weird period as well.
But I just genuinely wish him well. And it'd be almost nice to see him go somewhere and score a load of goals, freed from the burden of us all going, bloody hell, Pat, all the time at him.
I do feel like his spell in the Championship as well maybe came at a bad time, because in terms of his injuries, it's probably a period in his career where you need to play less, and all of a sudden having a midweek game every Tuesday is probably not ideal with the general kind of workload you put under there. Whereas something a bit more once a week, maybe get every other week off to play off the bench or something, maybe suits him better at this stage, where he can look after his very nicely muscled body a little bit better.
He strikes me as a man of culture, so I could see him foregoing, MLS or a big payday and taking going around Europe somewhere. He speaks French, doesn't he? Pretty sure he speaks French.
What would be a good, because it's your sphere, what would be a good hipster Italian club for him to join?
Ooh,
are there any good. Is there like a second team in Florence or something?
Venezia have really nice kids.
Pisa have just been promoted back to Serie A for the first time, and that's a pretty cultured part of the world.
Okay,
that could be good.
Should start a rumour?
Yeah,
I think we just did.
All right.
Yeah,
get in touch. Pisa Football Club.
What do you think of the comments around another striker who's been talked about, Matteo Joseph, not being in Germany? He had the under-21s tournament across the summer, and I don't know, the comments by Farke felt a little bit non-committal.
he's trying to not be annoyed that he's not there, I think, because he's given him the option, hasn't he? He's been like, look, you don't have to come back yet if you don't want. And he's gone, all right, I'll stay off.
Off on a lad's holiday.
And he's gone, It's the old Pontus Jansson thing, wasn't it? That was kind of one of the things that Bielsa was unimpressed with it, that he decided to keep a bit of time off over summer.
The difference is Pontus Jansson was, 30 at that point, and Mateo Joseph is still young. I think mentioning the fact that he was at the Euros as a reason that he's not there is maybe a bit more of a pointed statement when you consider that Nanto was also at the Euros, and they went out maybe the round before Spain. So you're talking difference of 3 or 4 days.
And he's been highlighted in the comparison as well, hasn't he, Nanto? The fact that Nanto came back and just looked hungry and ready for it, whereas the implication is quite clear there, isn't it? If Nanto is, maybe he's not.
The talk to look at them as a pair, it does make me think we are definitely signing a proper first choice number 9 here. I know the Moonies thing still hasn't gone away, has it? But if we've already said to Bamford he's out, and then the door feels half open for Joseph to leave, and we know there is interest in him. Like the Real Betis link comes around time and time again, doesn't it?
Celta Vigo now have been added to that mix. So yeah, there was talk of maybe not a bidding war, but a little bit of competition there, which might help. And
we know from a financial point of view, it makes sense because we would be all profit on him, wouldn't we, at this stage? So I don't know, it feels, if I had to bet one way or another, I'd say he's probably going to leave.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to, we can't start him this year, can we?
No.
Like he can't be a starting Premier League striker from what we've seen so far. So we'd have to loan him out to the Championship. And then you're run the risk of him having a Joe Gelhardt type season when nothing happens for him, and then you can't sell him for anything the year after. So maybe it's time we decide to just, cash in on him now and spend the money elsewhere. And because as well, the other thing is, if we can reinvest that money immediately in someone that keeps us in the league and who can contribute this year, it makes a difference to the whole health of the club forever, doesn't it, potentially? Whereas look at having him be good in 2 or 3 years is not necessarily much use.
I was going to say, like, if you look at the recruitment that's taken place this season already, it's all mid-20s people entering their peak years, and it feels like, as we've spoken about FC Big Bastards on this, it feels like there's very much a plan in place, which is that your big mid-20s heading into your peak years, or with a certain level of experience in that sort of general sphere. And Mateo Joseph just doesn't fit that in terms of profile, does he? He's on the way up, and people will say, well, we don't want to lose young players who've got a lot of potential, but the pressing need is to stay up, isn't it? And you can't just hoard players indefinitely unless you're Chelsea. I was going to say, unless you're prepared to completely fiddle PSR.
Maybe Chelsea will buy him.
Okay, true.
We could just have him to stick on the pile.
Maybe Rangers will buy him or loan him.
I don't think they can afford him, can they?
Be interesting to see if any of our peripheral players do end up there.
Jack Harrison.
Somebody did spot that Feyenoord were linked to a player who's up at Rangers, and so maybe we could do a little bit of back scratching, should we say?
Bit of a Watford Udinese going on there.
So if we take him and we give you that much money, and we give you him at a nice knockdown price to offset the difference, would that work for you?
I think one thing as well with Joseph is Lucas Mecha looked quite good in his 45-minute cameo at the weekend. Did a lot of the basic sort of hold-up play that, Joseph at times last season had trampoline toes, which didn't really help him. So I think Mecha looks much more suited to what's being required this season.
Did you spot him? Did you spot his antics at the weekend?
Yeah, I think he just looks generally fairly tidy, doesn't he? Yeah. Like a fairly 6, 7 out of 10 at most things that you see, and physically quite imposing as well, in a way that you maybe don't quite see until he's alongside someone else. But like he's a big bloke, isn't he? They're all. He's not as tall as some of the signings, but he's fairly well built. So I don't know. I feel if he looks equipped for the Premier League in a way that maybe a young player wouldn't be.
Yeah. Speaking of the big guys as well, I was reading Graham Smith's interview with Joel Peru, and he said that Jakob Biel left one on him in training. He said, I think he got some of the ball, but he got mostly me. So, apparently he's very aggressive.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
That's exactly what we want. Yeah, I enjoyed there was a certain amount of kicking the Man United players at the weekend, which I enjoyed. Yeah, as you picked up on with Sam Byram's approach.
Yeah, you can't. I know it's a friendly, and it undoubtedly lacks a bit of something, but there is still a satisfaction in seeing some scum players kicked a bit.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love seeing Bruno Fernandes pleading face?
Ethan Ampadu gave him a wedgie, didn't he? Which was good. That was a nice schoolyard move.
I really hope we become horrible to play against this year. That's what I was saying earlier on. Like, I'm really interested to see how it pans out, almost in the abstract. I want to see if we just become a team of horrible bastards.
It's hard to know what the midfield's going to be, isn't it? Because we've actually got quite a lot of players to fit in there now. Because Ampadu's captain, so you've got to imagine he's going to be there. And then Tanaka was our best midfielder last year from it overall, probably you would say. And then we're adding to it, aren't we? With Longstaff.
You forgot Gruev again.
Well, I was going to say, is Gruev the man that moves out here?
Makes way, yeah.
Well, Gruev looked all right at the weekend. The only issue is he was quite easy to dribble past, or he maybe felt defensively lacking, and that's possibly where Stach comes into it. I wonder if Longstaff and Tanaka are dueling it out for a position in front of Ampadu and Stach.
Is it in the Pirou interview, actually, where he's been saying that we've been trying lots of different things in midfield so they can play like a flat three, or there's maybe an option where somebody who's a bit more forward-thinking can go in there? So I suppose that maybe there's different tactics and different lineups for facing different types of teams they've got as part of the plan this year.
And I quite like, at times, was it the Swansea game where the home match where Nanto came off the bench and scored, and they used him as sort of like a second number 10 in games where Leeds were chasing it. And he would drop into those sorts of spaces. If you have him on the wing, he can do quite well, dropping into where a number 10 would be in the absence of or where they would be now that we have a third midfielder. So,
yeah. And then Farke does have history in his past of players tucking in rather than being out and out wingers. Like, it's how he used Buendia, wasn't it, when he was at Norwich? So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of it pans out. Apparently, we've got a game this afternoon at the time of recording, although nobody's supposed to know about it. But who was it that tweeted out to say that was it
Adam Patel from the Mail?
Yeah, who mentioned that Stach had been signed in time to play for a mysterious friendly that may or may not be going on Tuesday.
Yeah, at least he didn't do the full Florian Plettenberg and just in brackets where the training camp is.
Put this in your sat nav.
Thing is, everyone knows where it is, don't they? I've not made the effort to actually find out where it is and have my usual walk around on Google Maps that I like to do.
I've done it.
Have you?
Yeah, I had a look
What's
around.
it like?
I had a look around the local town. It looks quite sleepy.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish we'd have a proper pre-season. As much as I dislike the money spinning friendlies as well, at least let some people go to it.
Yeah. Well, blame the German police.
Yeah, I feel like maybe Leeds could have planned this a bit better. But anyway, let's worry about that nearer the time. We do have some friendlies we can watch at some point. And we're assuming this will be shown.
Well, they showed them all last time straight afterwards, didn't they? When they listed the embargo and then streamed it. Or was it at least the highlights that came out or the full game? I can't quite remember.
I think they showed full games, didn't they? But it was put on later in the day or maybe the day after or something.
Mm-hmm. Right. Anything else more to add then? Or are we done for now? Is there anything we've forgotten about? Maybe the game at Guiseley. The kids played at Guiseley. Ended 1-1 at the weekend.
At the same time as the match in Sweden, more or less the same time, 3 o'clock kickoff.
It was chucking it down as well. It was absolutely, because I did give half of mine to going up there, but I was like, it's absolutely tipping it down. Don't fancy it. Not standing out there in rain.
Got one more thing to plug.
Go on.
Remember Nick from the walk?
I remember Nick from the walk and Maggie. They were the pineapple food truck who fed everybody on the Wednesday.
Yes, they came along and did some nice chili. That's not actually their main job. They did that. It's a little side thing, but the main thing they do is holiday clubs for kids. PE partner .co.uk. So go there. It's lots of sites around West Yorkshire, and you can sign your kids up for sports stuff over summer.
Yeah, appeals to you, I dare say, because it just means getting them out of your hair.
Well, exactly. Yeah. I might try and go myself. Might be able to boss it.
Yeah,
amongst some 7-year-olds.
Right.
Just go. No, I probably won't.
I messaged Berrin actually. He sent me a photo of him sat having a lone half-litre of beer, I think it was, on a balcony somewhere in this secret town where they secretly are at the minute. I was like, "What? You're just there on your own?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Bet you're enjoying it, aren't you?" He's like, "Yeah." A little bit of peace and quiet.
This is the dream. This is the dream.
Speaking of Baron, I think Anton Stach looks like his younger brother.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll put that to him. I think
He's somewhere between Stack and Pirro, isn't he,
Yeah.
Baron?
we're going to have a chat with Berrin over the coming days. We'll get Graham on as well. We're going to speak to one of them who's out there in Germany as well, in the secret base.
Is it underground?
Yes,
It's underground,
under
yeah.
a volcano.
Good.
So I heard. But we'll speak to them over sort of next week or so, find out what's going on with transfers and what it's like out there in secret Germany. And
Bunkers in Germany, probably a bit.
yeah, we're steering a bit. Yeah.
Fine.
Right, we will wrap it up there. We'll catch you soon.
The Square Ball Podcast.